Hey, everybody, it's John Murphy, your Make 100 Healthy guy, along with sweet angel Cecelia. How you doing, Cecelia?
I am just doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here with you.
And welcome to the Make 100 Healthy Club podcast. This is the club everybody wants to be in, to live to 100 years with health, happiness, and purpose. And we want to thank our sponsors that have contributed to help us bring this to you. First of all, we have Finley Subaru. Thank you to Jason and Kara. We also have Rox Media, Lori Fisher, who also publishes Prescott Living, Prescott Healthy Living, which I write for every edition, and Prescott Now magazines. Also, the Blind Brothers of Arizona and Steve Blair, and also the Southwest Sunset Homes and Stringfield at Granite Mountain. Thank you guys, and thank you all for your support here as we are broadcasting live from the Cast 11 studios. We are on a roll, Cecelia.
Yes, we are.
We have so much going on. People are talking.
I know. I've got people from all over the United States that are reaching out to me. My company, Visiting Angels, we have 600 locations. And I've got franchise owners that are reaching out to me wanting to be a guest speaker on our podcast.
Well, and we do invite you, if you think that you have something of value, if you have a secret plan or something that works for you, that's part of your healthy longevity journey, be more than welcome to give us a call or contact us, and we can maybe have you on as a guest as well. Vicki, last week's show, we had a wonderful conversation with Dr. Reddy.
Yes, that was so good.
He shared his 6 heart healthy tips on keeping your heart healthy. We also had a big insight into the Orleans Angels and Doug and Joanne Brown. And today we have a very special guest who's going to sit in with us in a bunch of our segments, the one and only Vicki Johnston from the H2O Health Store. But she's not just from the H2O Health Store. She is the H2O Health Store.
Very true.
And she is a great charitable person. Vicki, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John and Cecelia. Love it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So
You're
glad to be
welcome.
here.
Can I tell real quick how I met Vicki?
Yes, you can.
I got to tell you, it was just, she had been emailing me, she had been calling me, and, we could never connect. But she kept she was real insistent, about getting a hold of me. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go see who is this person. Well, I walked into her office, and she was the cutest thing I had ever seen. She was all decked out in red, white, and blue. She had on a little cowgirl hat. She had on red and blue cowboy boots and everything. And we got to talking, and I just fell in love with you. And then, I don't know, we got to talking about water. And so I had shared with Vicki, and I guess I'll share it with the world, is that I was having UTIs for 30 years. I mean,
Wow.
Every 2 or 3 months, I'd go on a trip. I'd come back to Prescott. I'd go see my urologist, Dr. Wynn. He knows me so well. He called me my first name all the time. He'd give me pills, give me medication. I'd take it back and forth. So Vicki said to me, have you ever tried drinking pure, clean water? And I said, well, I drink water. I mean, don't we all drink water? And so then she started educating me about her water and what she does at her store. And I bet it was within 3 months. And I came back to Vicki and I said, guess what? No more UTIs. That was over 30 years ago that I was having that problem.
Wow.
And just meeting Vicki and finding out. So that's why I'm so excited for her today to educate people about water.
Well, you know what they say, you are what you eat. You also are what you drink.
Absolutely.
So welcome to the show, Vicki.
Thanks, John. Again, I love it. Thank you. I love you guys. Both of you are kind of my favorite people.
Well, you know, we 3 of us know each other because we were all members of the Prescott Mayor's Commission for Wellbeing.
That's right.
And that's how this genesis really started, where we were put in charge during COVID era on creating healthy paths for people when they were struggling and they were locked down. And it really was a crazy time. And it's more crazy now in retrospect. But we did some great work.
Yep,
that's one of the reasons that we brought the garden back, the Prescott Food Forest. That was an initiative that we did a survey. And Vicki, your passion for health is not just about water. Tell us a little bit about your history and what your passions are, including water, but besides water.
Well, I'm just like you two. You two both have a great passion for health too and trying to help people. And that is what it's all about. I mean, if we're not helping people, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing on this earth. You're missing the boat. And I think that's why so many people have so many problems. They're too focused on me, not focused on other people. And that's the best and healthiest advice you can really tell people. Get your mind off of you, get it on somebody else, and watch what happens.
And go help other people.
Go help other people. And that's why I love you guys, because I know that's your heart, that's your mission. You're just all about helping people. And with us, it's not about the money. Yeah. It's not about the money. It's the passion. It's the mission. That's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So I got into water because I was a hospital lab tech. I worked in 3 U.S. hospitals, huge hospitals.
In the country.
In the country. I've been to 35 countries. I've tested water in 35 countries. But my job is what really led me to water. Had I not had the job that I had, I'd have never known the difference, just like everybody else. People don't get it.
And you were looking through a microscope. And
you were looking through a microscope,
stuff.
doing autopsies, seeing the difference in just the weight of a brain of a person that drinks water and people that don't. And people that drink well water versus people that drink city water's brains. You can't believe the difference. It's incredible. So that started me on this mission to start researching water. I'm like, well, why not? Right? I'm a crazy mad scientist, so why not water? So I actually started 54 years ago, this journey.
Wow.
You started when you were 3 years old?
She was only 3 back then.
Child prodigy.
My darling husband is going to be 82 in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No ills, no pills, all original parts.
And
everything
he
still works.
And he still works every single day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
He doesn't work because he has to.
No.
He can't stand still. And he needs to be a contributor, right?
He's that kind of person. And
I love Larry.
He was a good old farm boy, raised in Wisconsin and taught to work. And, they say, you thrive, you live, you thrive, but you retire, guess what happens? So he has no mission to retire, nor do I. So we'll be doing this till we drop dead, for sure. Probably. And we're going to make
you're
the 100.
Make 100 healthy, I hope.
No doubt. No doubt.
So we're going to talk a little bit about water, and I think you're going to do a water test in a little while, but our first segment is called The Heart of the Matter. And the Heart of the Matter last week was about cardiac health. This is about matters of our heart, and what's going on in our country is an amazing phenomenon. Thanks to our Director of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has turned literally the food pyramid upside down.
It's upside down.
It was about time.
I can't believe that.
Amazing that he was able to do that, and the symbolic nature of turning it upside down just shows how bad and how poor and how dangerous the old food pyramid was. So let's talk about what happened. And let's talk about the new food pyramid versus the old one.
Right. And you know what, John? It's so funny because when I was a little girl, which was like 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
I remember that we were eating breakfast every morning. We would have cereal. And if you notice the pyramid, cereal was definitely at the top of the pyramid.
And orange juice.
And orange juice and everything. And I remember that we had the Cheerios. I don't mean to name a brand, but we had Cheerios. And of course, Twix, that Twix cereal, it's red and yellow and orange and blue.
Trix.
Twix. That's what
Twix is a
Trix
candy
are
bar.
for kids. The rabbit. Trix.
Trix.
Trix. T-R-I-X.
But how did they make that color in that cereal? And I never thought about it. My parents told me to eat it. We poured cereal on it, cut up a little banana, and that's what we had. And out the door we went. And so now what they're finding that does not need to be on the top of the pyramid. As a matter of fact,
it's the base. That was the base of the pyramid.
In Europe, they don't use the dye that we use over here in America on that cereal.
So part of our mission and part of us being here is sharing insights and perspectives that may not be mainstream, but because of the progressive nature of RFK and the MAHA movement, it is becoming very, very vogue, if you will, to question what's in our foods. They talked about breads, talking grain, the grain and the food pyramid was designed to enrich the food manufacturers, not the health of our nation.
Absolutely.
And that's a real sin. And so by him flipping it upside down, for example, breads in America, people all of a sudden got gluten allergies, right? They never had that before. So it turns out, and again, this is something that is speculative, but the glyphosate that is in our food system and in the ground is being absorbed, and that's in the grains.
Correct.
So when people say they have gluten allergies, a lot of times what
It's
they
the
have
chemicals.
is a chemical reaction to the glyphosate.
Right.
Because if you go to France and you eat some bread, or Italy, you don't get bloated. You just love the bread. So this is an important moment in our history, because 66% of our country is either obese or overweight. We've got diabetes through the roof. Childhood diabetes is a third of the kids out there. It is a tragedy, but it's one that we're gaining on.
Yep.
And it's because of this kind of a food pyramid and, an emphasis on eating real foods. I have a video from RFK the other day. It says, eat real foods.
Yep.
Yes, that's
What a
it.
concept.
It doesn't have to have a label on it to eat it. And when you were talking about bread, I remember about 7 or 8 years ago, my husband and I, we would be throwing bread out for the birds out in our backyard. They weren't eating it. They were not eating it.
They know better.
Because they knew better.
They can smell the chemicals.
Yeah, they can smell the chemicals. And
So can your dogs and cats.
Yeah.
So let me just give, for perspective, the old pyramid emphasized grains at the base, suggesting a high-carb diet as foundational. Okay? The new inverted pyramid places whole food, vegetables, and healthy fats at the base, promoting a balanced approach to nutrition and less emphasis on processed foods and sugars. And sugar, we know, is terrible. But there's a big difference between refined sugar and nature sugar in fruits.
Watermelon, any
Fruit
type of
toast.
fruit. Yep.
Yeah, there was somebody said, all sugars are the same. And I never saw anybody go, I'm in this Weight Watchers program because I have an addiction to pineapple. It just doesn't happen.
No.
So
Yeah.
the food pyramid that we have a graphic of, I believe, basically builds upon eating natural food. And also portion control is so important. My dad, God rest his soul, he'd say, hey, it's 12 o'clock, time to eat. Are you hungry, Dad? It doesn't matter. It's 12 o'clock.
Yes.
And so what happened was people got in the habit of eating 3 square meals a day. Sounds like a really nice thing. But what happens is, as a culture, we were overeating and under-exercising. And so that's how you become obese.
Well,
and when you get lethargic because you're so inflamed, you don't feel like exercising, so you exasperate the problem.
And I think too, John, people have to figure out, why is it that they have to rely on food? What happened to them when they were, 4 years old or 7 years old or what have you? And I had a very dear friend, hypnotherapist by the name of Dr. Elaine Kissel, and I think you might have met her too.
Oh,
but
I know her well.
Yeah, but anyway, my mom died when I was 10 years old, but guess what everybody in our little town in Wyoming did? They brought food. They brought food to our house. They brought pies, homemade pies and breads and everything for months, because that's how you made people feel better back in the day.
Comfort food.
Comfort food, And so now I think this younger generation, because my grandchildren, I'm watching them now, they would much rather eat fruit and steak and fish or chicken rather than heavy laden pastas. And it's interesting. The younger generation is getting it because they're watching the baby boomers that are dying of all these chronic diseases, including people like, say, for example, what's his name? Bruce Willis. I mean, how are these younger guys getting
Michael
this?
J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox. How is all of these diseases affecting people in our country?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the food and to the water.
And also the medications
No.
and the household cleaners and everything that we have that, you have a fragrance candle That's you're smelling chemicals.
I know.
I mean, it might
I know.
smell good.
I
Might smell like vanilla, but it's not vanilla.
And the reason
Synthetic.
I go into so many people's offices and they have that, and I don't want to say the brand, but it's plugged in and it's emulate, it's putting all this wonderful
Toxic.
smelling stuff, and I can smell it, and it's a chemical. I drive my car to get washed, and the guy hands me this chemical to hang it in my car.
That's right. No,
And
thank you.
And I say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
breathe that, So
That's why cancer is the where it's at, and it's not going to stop. I just finished my first book to be published this year,
Oh, good.
and I say in my book, you can't beat it when you feed it.
Yeah.
And
That's
see,
correct.
true.
That's a
all
good
these
one.
toxic chemicals, they're everywhere. They're in the air, they're in the food, they're in the water. Well, of course, they're in the food because the food's drinking the same water we are.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's not in our water. You mentioned glyphosate. It's in the water.
Of course,
in the
it is.
water.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So besides water, because we're going to get into that a little more, but as far as you teaching nutrition, you talk a lot about this. Share a little bit specifically for our viewers at home how they can identify what might be toxic and what might be healthy for them. It might sound like common sense, but are there ways of differentiating? Because a lot of times marketing is very sneaky.
Not only is it sneaky, they have a license to lie and mislead you. You cannot believe what's on a label anymore. Once we figure out what the name of something is, like MSG, there's 40 more.
Yeah.
So you constantly got to be ahead of this curve or you can't keep up. But I keep it real simple, and I do, 16 classes in my store, and I teach what it took me 53 years to learn. How to keep your health. John, you're so right. That's why I loved you when I met you. You can make it to 100 healthy with a
course you
brain
can.
and a body that works, but not if you're not doing some things right. So what are the simple things? Shop on the outside aisles of the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the real food is.
Right.
The box, the bag, the can, get rid of them. They're loaded with preservatives.
Right.
Number one, preservatives, because they want everything to last. Right? Well, guess what it does in you? It lasts. And your
Doesn't
poor
break
little
down.
body's trying to break it down and it's going, I can't. And this food's going, nope, you can't touch me because I'm preserved.
Yeah. And I had a little
And
can,
it won't.
I had a little can of baked beans, and I looked on the back of it just out of curiosity. I had it in our van, and it had the sodium content in a little can was over 1,200. Sodium.
Now, that's another story. Sodium is something, your blood is 90% salts.
Right.
There are different types of salts. Sodium is a salt. But here's the kicker. You don't want refined salts.
Just like sugars.
That's
Like
your
sugars.
Celtic salt.
Well, we have the Celtic salt. I take that every morning.
Yes, yes.
And so that's a misnomer that the salt is, we need salt.
We've been
We
duped.
are electrical beings,
Yeah.
and the sodium charges us. And so in the morning, before I have my coffee, I've been doing this for about a year now, I'll pinch some coarse Celtic salt. I had the brand on last week, and I'll drink 24 to about 12 to 24 ounces, 1 or 2 glasses in the morning before I have my coffee.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing now. I got that salt, the salt that he told me to get. He brought the bag. I saw the bag. I went to the store. I found it. I bought it. So I put that salt every morning.
Selena.
Yeah, and it makes your throat, it makes your whole body feel good.
So there's 91 minerals in that salt that you're talking about, Celtic salts, Celtic salts. The real salt you want has 118 minerals. That's how many there are. See, this is what people don't understand. Why do I even need salt? And we've been duped on the salt for years.
Yeah.
When I worked in the hospital, 2,400 micrograms a day was what people needed. That's what they recommended. Well, now, just like you just said, you looked at that label.
Right.
They're the wrong kind of salts. You need the variety.
Yeah.
Potassium is a salt. That's what keeps your heart healthy. Magnesium is a salt. That's your healing mineral. If you don't have enough magnesium in your diet, I don't care what you're dealing with, you're never going to get well. You can't.
Okay.
The body can't heal without these salts. Sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. You want to
I love
ignite your
baking soda.
water? Put a pinch of that in it every day.
I do. And by the way, if I ever get heartburn from something I ate, I will put some baking soda in a glass of water. I'll drink it. And within 5 or 10 minutes,
It's gone.
I let out a big burp and it's over.
And you
It's
know
over.
why? I can tell you why. Because my job was research. That's where they put me because that was me. I'm just like, I want to know why. Why does this work like that? Why does the body break down? So the reason that works for your stomach, because the lining of your stomach has to have sodium bicarbonate. And when you don't have enough sodium bicarbonate in your diet every day, guess what your body does? It knows how to rob Peter to pay Paul all day long.
Right.
So what it does, there's a place in your body that's loaded with sodium bicarbonate. John, guess where it is?
I'm afraid to ask.
It's in your joints. Your joints are loaded with sodium
Is
bicarbonate.
that when people feel like they have arthritis?
That's exactly what causes arthritis because you don't have enough sodium to go around. So the gut says, I'm taking that sodium out of your joints.
Wow.
Because I have to have it to keep that lining of that stomach healthy, or you get what's called ulcers. That's holes in your guts. Hello.
Wow.
You know, and now everybody has leaky gut. Guess what heals it? Magnesium and sodium bicarbonates. So you need these healthy salts in your diet every day, but you want them to come from food, like real food. You know, they're in our real food. And especially if it's organic, the nutritional content's just higher in organics. Everybody else always asks me, do you buy? I buy organics anytime I can. The difference is this. Doesn't mean it doesn't have poison. They still can use legally 400 different toxic poisons on organic food and still call it organic.
Wow.
But here's the difference. It has to be on the outside of the food. So you can wash it off if you have clean water. Your tap water's not washing off nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Just putting more chemicals on it.
Yeah,
on top
you're
of
done. It doesn't work. The pH has to be high enough and the water needs to be clean. So, but with food that's not organic, the difference is this. They put the chemical on the ground, the glyphosate, which is a toxic weed killer that's in Roundup. How many people are spraying their yard with Roundup? Everybody,
Right.
pre-emergence, loaded with it. So it gets into our groundwater and you're putting it's in the city water. Every city has it. But with organics, they can't put that pesticide on the ground. They have to put it on the outside of the food. But with commercially grown foods, which you need to learn the numbers, I teach people about the numbers, they put it on the ground. So now it goes down to the ground and the root system absorbs that poison and it's in the food. You can't wash it out. You can wash it till Jesus comes. It's not washing out.
Wow.
Because it's on the inside. So celery is one of the most notorious.
Right.
And people, celery's great for you. It's loaded with salts if it's organic.
Yeah, and I saw
Loaded with what?
Salts.
Salt.
The salts.
And I saw
Good, you're saying. Good.
good,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Celery
and I
is
saw,
excellent.
a thing on celery where they put it in a glass and there was red dye in the glass.
And it goes-
then it just sucked it right up,
Exactly.
So
Well, celery, watercress, all these
Yeah.
vegetables that are water-based are great for your cellular system, for your hydration, and to keep your body moving and active. So, we talk about the food pyramid, and now we're talking about a little bit of the nitty-gritty. Before we go into our next segment, I really want to talk a little bit about the MAHA movement, because MAHA has really, and that stands for Make America Healthy Again, that has touched my life and impacted me. We're on some of the MAHA groups out there, and basically what MAHA is, if I would summarize it, it's the American citizen that has had enough. Remember that movie Network? I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
I remember that.
It's
And
about
that's what
time.
this is about. Was that?
It's about time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
I mean,
It's way past time.
It is. People are sick and tired of watching themselves fall to pieces. And now our kids and our grandkids.
Yeah.
Do you know in Mexico, you talked about diabetes? It is affecting 50% of their population
Because of processed foods?
because of high carbs, high sugar, high carb diets. Carbs turn straight to sugar if you don't eat enough protein.
Yeah,
The key with
but
carbs.
but the thing is, Vicki, it is how do you break away from tradition? And when I say tradition, I talk about the people in Mexico and the way that they cook and eat and everything. But I stop and think about, kids nowadays and our kids, your kids, my kids, when they were 1 year old, what did we do to take a picture of them? We had a cake that was full of frosting and we shoved their face down into it, happy birthday, How do we, as this in America, I'm not talking about the rest of the world, but here in America, how do we change the culture? How do we change the tradition? Does it start with us?
We have to educate. The key, there's so many just simple things. One, carbs. We can eat, I have what I call an 80-20 rule. I don't eat 100% organic all the time. I go out, I'll eat a piece of pie, a cake, but here's the key. Here is the real key. And hardly nobody knows this. I've been teaching this for years, and this works so well. If when you eat carbs, you look at a package and it says 12 grams of carbs.
Okay.
Then you look at the fiber. If it says 1 gram of fiber, now you take that fiber, you minus the fiber away from the carb. So we got 11 carbs.
11. Okay.
We want to make sure we eat more protein. So you need to make sure your proteins are higher than your carbs. You will never gain weight if you will just do that. That simple formula. So all you have to do is get more protein in our diet.
Okay.
And we look at seniors. You talk about trying to get to 100 healthy. What happens to their muscles?
The atrophy.
They have none because they're not eating protein anymore because you can't eat. Most of them don't have teeth, right?
And it's also true that older folks have a hard time making muscle too, even if they were healthy. So you really need to do some weight training. And that doesn't mean you have to go to the gym, but of course it helps. But you need to have muscle on your body.
You have to have muscle.
Because if you don't, you're going to fall down, you're going to break your hip, and then you're going to be immobile. And that could be the end of your productive life. So again, these are just tips that we're talking about. But, when we talk about making change, this podcast is just a small little cog in the machine of talking. And what people tell us about the show is it's very informative and it's opening people's minds to different things.
That's the key.
It's authentic and it's easy to do.
It is.
We were talking about just getting out and walking every day. I mean, I make my office, everybody in my office, I tell them, get away from that computer, get up, go outside, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. My whole team, we wear tennis shoes so that we can get out the door and go walk, even if it's for 15 minutes.
Well, walking is probably the best activity we can do to keep our body moving. So
and mentally too, John.
Mentally, most times you're outdoors and you're breathing nature's air and hearing the birds chirp. And
I said to my team,
you're in the sun,
which the sun is also important. Healing. Vitamin D.
Yeah, I said to my team the other day, I said, I'm going out of this office and I'm going to go walk for 10 minutes. If not, go get me a bottle of vodka because I need something right now. And walking is much better,
Absolutely.
So.
Walking with a glass of vodka, though, that's... So that brings us to our next segment, which is called It's Grow Time.
Yes.
And Vicki, this is something that we've been working together on for a while and talking about victory gardens.
Good for you.
For those of you who remember what a victory garden was, this might be redundant, but a victory garden started in World War I. President Woodrow Wilson said that it was a patriotic duty to grow your own backyard garden, to feed you and your family and your neighbors, because the food supply that we had at that time had to be used for our troops and the people overseas, the boys overseas at that time. And also, this would give us a decentralized food distribution system, God forbid, if we were attacked. So the Victory Garden was a patriotic duty in World War I. And then World War II came, and it not only took off in the United States, but it's also in Britain. And so how many people had grandmas and grandpas that grew these wonderful gardens, nothing like a tomato, a cucumber, a pepper.
And canning.
And then because when you grow your own garden, a lot of times the harvest comes all at once that you need to preserve. Yep. And so we had canning and jarring and I don't know if freeze drying back then, but the bottom line is that we had almost 50% of all the fruits and vegetables that were consumed by the American public in the mid 40s before the war was over came from people's backyard gardens.
That's right.
And so it was a phenomenal program. And then the war was over. we were victorious. Everybody was celebrating. And what happened?
Aluminum cans
TV
came out.
dinners,
TV dinners,
Aluminum
McDonald's,
cans.
aluminum cans,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
convenience.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, we got away from Victory Gardens.
Right.
It wasn't really vogue. And guess what? Victory Gardens are back.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're leading
great.
the charge. With our Prescott Food Forest and our Make 100 Healthy Foundation, we have our Victory Garden Family Stakeholder Program, which we have a nice garden stake that you put in your garden, and it says Victory Garden Family. Now, we
And
just
I
spoke.
have one at my
You
house.
have
I
one,
have one.
and you have one at the store,
I
and
have
you
one.
both. And this is just a way of creating a community that has something in common, which is eating real food, being able to grow real food.
And when you pick a tomato, when you plant, a tomato plant and you watch it grow and you're watering it and
magic.
then you get that first little cherry tomato. My husband and I grew cherry tomatoes and we each tasted. It was like, we've never tasted anything so good because we put all of our love into that.
Well, and you're not using all the poison.
yes.
right.
Because on the outside of the tomatoes, it's covered with toxic poisons. I do in my classes, I wash them. I wish I'd have brought it and showed you. You just can't, the water's yellow. When
Yeah.
you use clean water
Yeah.
that's right and the pH is
Yeah.
right, the water will take that poison off
I've
it.
seen that in your
But
classes.
and we even have people taste them and you can taste the difference
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that poison's what's changing the taste. That's why nothing tastes like it used to
Well,
taste.
when you get a tomato from a grocery store versus your backyard garden, it actually tastes like a different substance.
Yeah.
Totally,
And-
totally different.
And a lot of times with the tomatoes, they air seal them, and they put a little chemicals in there to keep them nice and red. So
That's right.
the Victory Garden is something that we are encouraging each and every viewer or listener to think about doing. Now, you can say, well, I live in an apartment. I can't do that. Well, yes, you can. There's something called square foot gardening, and you can have a little container. You can have a little bit tabletop. The idea is when you grow food yourself, you have an investment, you have a relationship. And for older folks that don't have much going on in their life and they don't have a purpose, well, getting up to water your plants and seeing the sprout and the bud come is a reason to be alive. It's a purpose. So it's not just a health thing. It's also a psychological bond, similar to what a pet would be. So let's talk about Victory Gardens just
Well,
for a
I got to
moment.
tell you, I have this cute little couple. They're in their late 70s, early 80s. And when you were talking, they got milk cartons, those plastic milk cartons from the grocery store. And then they just put a big black baggie into that milk carton so they
Garbage
can
bag.
pick garbage bag, and so they can pick it up and move it around and everything. And they had like 3 of them on their porch, and all they were growing was herbs. They had like rosemary, they had thyme, they had basil and everything, And
Yep.
of course, I gave them one of your Victory Garden sticks to put
Thank
in there.
you.
But they were just thrilled because when they were getting ready to make their spaghetti with zucchini squash, not with pasta, they went out on their porch and they trimmed all of their herbs to go in to their spaghetti sauce.
Smart.
And they were just like so excited, that because they remembered what it was like back, when you were talking about. And we got away from that in the I want to say it was the 60s and the 70s and the
Convenience.
80s and everything.
Well,
you know.
in the 1980s, we really went off the cliff because we had an abundance of corn. And the Bush administration thought it was wise to push a corn-based diet. And that gave us high fructose corn syrup.
That's right.
And
Oh, yes.
and
Wow.
corn and sugar derivatives that are really gobbledygook.
Horrible.
Now, I've had people argue, well, high fructose corn syrup is the same as real sugar. But it's
Absolutely
really not.
not.
And now they're marketing. Have you noticed as a store now, all of this stuff, you go down the aisles and it says, no high fructose corn syrup right on the front, that
Yeah,
they're,
then you
because
gotta-
people figured it out,
Well-
that it was in everything. It was in everything.
And here's the killer. All that corn is genetically modified.
Yeah.
America, 90% of the corn is genetically modified.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess what that means? It's altered. The
Yeah.
genetics are altered. And it's a train wreck.
Yep.
You cannot eat stuff that isn't made by nature.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Mother Earth has a brilliant mind. I mean, look at the seasons, talking about life, right? I mean, right, there's summer, winter, spring, fall, right? And what does the year start with? We're in right now.
Winter.
We're still in the winter, but we're going to enter into the spring. Spring is when you plant.
Right.
Spring is when, think about our life. I love this. Our life is 1 to 25 is your springtime. That's your springtime.
Okay. I
That's
like
when
that.
you're young, you're vibrant, your skin's gorgeous, everything's beautiful, right? And we're not real smart when we're in the springtime of our life, are we? Because we're young.
Yes, that's so
So
true.
then we go to the summer of our life, and that's when we're from 25 to 50. I teach this. It's so cool. And you think about the summertime. What's happening in summertime? The food in the garden's growing. Liken
Yeah.
this to a garden.
Flowers are blooming.
Flowers are
Yeah.
blooming. They're
Yeah.
pretty.
Everything's green.
And what are we doing? We're raising our kids in that 25 to 50, right?
Yeah,
And we're
yeah,
working
yeah,
and we're
yeah,
getting our
yeah.
wealth and we're getting ourselves established. Then we go to the fall. What happens in fall in the garden?
And the leaves start falling
harvest.
off. And the harvest.
Harvest
Yes,
time.
Yes, yep.
So
yep.
we are in harvest from 50 to 75. That's the harvest time. That's where we are, guys. This is a time our kids are raised, they're gone. You know, we don't have the finance, our houses are paid for. We don't have the
Yeah.
financial
Yeah.
pressures we used to have.
No.
This should be the best years of your life
Yes.
because from 75 to 100 is the winter.
Yeah.
And what happens in the winter? Everything starts to die,
Yeah.
but not everything dies in the winter.
I was hoping
That's
that from
true.
75 to 100 would be preserving.
It is. If you know what you're doing,
If
that
you know how to
is the
can and
time.
preserve it
That's why
right.
I mentioned this because
Yes.
it is the time to preserve your health.
Yeah.
Now you got nothing but time
Exactly.
to start working on, like you're saying, plant some herbs.
Yes.
You know, rosemary reduces inflammation. You can grow rosemary. It's easy to grow.
I
And
have some in my kitchen.
I got a bush as big as this room in my yard.
Well, and you know, I think I told John, my husband, we have a bunch of rosemary, and I don't know, he was on Pinterest, or I don't know what he was on, but he cut some rosemary, brought it in the house, boiled it in water in a pan on the stove.
Make tea.
And no, he poured it in a container that you can, spray, and
Spray
he
bottle.
cleans the counters with it.
It's great for that.
And it's better than anything that,
Oh.
and it turns like purple. It's like purple.
And rosemary is also great for growing hair back.
Rosemary, there's 100
Yeah,
uses for
yeah,
rosemary.
yeah.
So what we are saying in a nutshell is that anything that you can consume or use that is from the ground, from nature, is infinitely better than anything that is recreated by man. And, we're not going to get into the pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
but God made every bit of natural medicine that we need. And most of the medications that are out there have derivatives of what God intended, but then they put a lot of bad stuff in there too.
So that's an interesting statement, John. Used to be, because when I started 53 years ago, most drugs actually were made with, guess what? Well, guess what the base of most medications was? This will shock you. And hardly anybody knows this unless you're in this industry. Salt.
There you go.
Salt. And then synthetics started coming out. And then they started going away from those natural salts. Do you know how much salt? You think, I told you 2,400 is kind of the norm for salt. Do you know how much salt is in an IV bag? 7,000.
Wow.
That's why they put that in you. They know.
Wow.
So isn't that
Wow.
ironic that we have been told, make sure you have a low salt diet, don't eat
right.
salt,
Yeah.
and then you go into the
To
hospital
hospital, and
in
they
an
fill you up.
emergency and
Yeah.
they fill you up with salt. So, this is not a conspiracy show, but
No, we're just trying
it
to be
used
real.
but all the conspiracy theories came true. So we're no longer conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
So the point is whether we say something, you see it on TikTok, Instagram, or on broadcast media, question everyting.
Yeah.
Question what we're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look and do your own research, but realize if you just believe everything you're told, you're going to wind up most likely losing your health, your happiness, and your vitality.
And your
because
wealth,
they
John.
want that.
And your
And your
wealth.
wealth. Nothing will steal your wealth faster than your health. Nothing.
That's true. That
Nothing.
is true. That
So
is very true.
people work so hard to make money. And a lot of times they sacrifice their health.
Yep. My dad used to say that they called it the golden years because the doctors took all your gold. That's what he used to tell me.
I never heard that before,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
point is we work so hard and we sacrifice our health and put family and other obligations to the side to make money and to get status and power and
Have a new car.
accolades.
Yeah. Yeah.
And boom, one day you're having stroke or
Yep.
you can't get out of bed and you go, what the heck happened? And you spend the rest of your life trying to restore your health.
Mhm.
And
So
spend your wealth.
our advice is don't do anything major. Make small, incremental, consistent changes in your life, whether it's deep breathing, whether it's taking a cold shower, whether it's cutting out processed foods. There are so many things that you can do that don't cost money. In fact, a lot of times you could save money.
Mhm.
Growing your own food is infinitely cheaper than buying from the store, certainly going out to dinner.
And I think you just have to make a switch in your brain. And the reason I say that is because my husband loves donuts. The guy loves donuts. And so, whenever I'm out there, and I see a donut shop, I think, oh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to buy him one or two because he loves them so much. And then one day I was going in, I won't say the name of the donut shop because it's really, really good. But anyway, I went to myself, if I really loved him, I wouldn't be doing this. So yesterday I was at a grocery store called Sprouts, and they had the most beautiful jade plant. Instead of getting him donuts, I got him that plant. And he was so excited about it. But I think you have to make that switch in your brain and say, if I really loved him, I wouldn't be doing that. But you know what? That goes down to you too. If you love yourself, why would you want to be putting that crap in your body?
Well, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. You told me this. You don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
That's
You
right.
taught me that.
That's right.
You
That's
said
right.
that a long time ago
Yeah,
to me, and
yeah.
I thought, oh my God, she's
You
right.
don't know what
You
you
don't
don't
know.
Yep.
Because how can you know?
Yeah.
Well-
That's why I said education is the key. I mean, we have to educate these people. People aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They're smart. When you start hearing these things, they're like, oh, duh, that
But
makes
you know what?
sense.
People live in their bubble. And so I've been watching about this pyramid being turned upside down, and I've been watching on TikTok, and I've been watching on X, and these people are out there saying, don't do that, don't do that. They're trying to kill you. These people are trying to kill you,
Right.
Robert F. Kennedy, he's an addict,
It's because they're
you know,
all
and
one-sided. They're looking at it politically.
They're in their bubble. So all I'm
Well-
asking people to do is step out of your bubble and read information from a lot of different places.
It's your choice.
Well,
It's your choice.
A
It's your
bubble is
choice.
a bubble is a nice way of putting it, but I think a more accurate description of what you described is fear. And they're inside the bubble to insulate themselves
That
from
could be.
fear.
Could be.
Because fear of the unknown. I mean, how is it that people will go and take vaccinations because their doctor told them to do it, and will not question it? Now, I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying they don't question it.
You need to question
But if you
everything.
talk to somebody about apricot seeds having B17, they go, wait a minute, there's arsenic in there. All of a sudden, so
Yeah, there
instead-
is.
yeah, but it's controlled and offset by the actual
But it's different.
apricot itself.
But
It's
you know
different.
what?
It's like the sugar.
But
It's different.
a doctor did tell my husband when he went in to see him, he was a pain specialist. And this doctor said during COVID to my husband, he said, Mr. Jernegan, it's about COVID. It's not a matter if you're going to die, it's when you're going to die. You have got to get that shot. This was a doctor, and we grew up that doctors were God. Doctors know everything.
And they don't.
And they
So
don't.
They
I want to
don't.
defend doctors for a second because I think that doctors are in a really bad system.
They are.
And they were not given the nutritional training
No.
Sure.
that they should have. But what's going on now with all the social medias, their patients are questioning. And the doctors have to educate themselves.
And they are.
And so
And many
Dr.
are.
Reddy last week, he's a healthy guy. He's a marathoner. He's a vegetarian. He does a lot of things for the heart that are preventative. So I think that holistic medicine and the allopathic model of medicine that the Rockefellers formed, they're coming together because the allopathic model is going to fail. It's symptom based, not cause based. It's not, you're not getting to the root cause of what the problem
And
is.
you'll never get well until you get to the root cause.
What's people say if medications work, why do you need a refill of your prescription?
That's true.
Think about
That's
that.
true.
So I think we can go on and on, but we want to go to our next segment. This is a really cool one. It's a little abstract. This is our movement matters. Now, when we talk about movement, a lot of our segments have a double entendre. And this one is about frequencies and the power of frequencies and energy in the world. There's one that many people have heard about. Have you heard about Schumann's resonance? Schumann's resonance is 7.83 hertz, and that is the pulse of the earth. And so you can go on YouTube, you can go on any digital media that you want. Schumann's resonance is connecting with the earth. When you hug a tree, you're getting energy.
Take your shoes off. Just take
grounding,
your shoes off and stand on the ground.
These all have to do with energy and frequencies. There in permaculture, we're talking, the Prescott Food Forest. This year, we're going to do an entire row of our garden, and we're going to have it hooked up with copper in the ground. The copper brings the nutrients and brings the frequency and the energy and the nitrogen, and it charges it that you get double, triple, quadruple the growth and the output. So
and that's why people wear copper bracelets.
That's right.
Copper necklace, copper.
That brings the energy beings.
In.
Everything has a frequency. I teach a whole class on frequency. Everything has a frequency.
Yeah.
And those frequencies affect your nervous system. And that's the beginning of the end. When the frequencies affect the nervous system, this is why frequencies are so important. It's the nervous system that creates the inflammation. The inflammation is what creates the pain or the problem. That's why during COVID, so many, had such a difficult time with their health because your fear factor, about affect you, and that affects the nervous system. When you affect the nervous system, that's why stress is the biggest killer there is. Stress.
Right. Yeah.
All they got to do is stress us all out. And guess what they're doing?
Yeah.
They're stressing us all out with tons of confusion. Who knows what the truth is? Should I believe you? Should I believe you?
Yeah.
Who should you believe?
Yeah.
Well, that's intentional too.
Believe this. You better use your logic and your common sense.
It's called intuition, Vicki.
It is.
And everybody has
your gut.
intuition. And we're not going to go into the pineal gland, but we're going to talk about next week, most likely, the decalcification process of your pineal gland. That is your third eye. That's your intuitive nature. It's right there. So
that's the gut instinct. When you say you have a gut instinct, listen to it.
It's called the gut brain.
The
gut has a brain.
I got up early about a month ago, and I was listening to Schumann's resonance, and I listened to it for about a half an hour. And my wife got up. She goes, "What's wrong with you?" I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're so happy. Like you're so overly happy for." I didn't realize it, but I was in tune with nature. Now, there's another frequency that we want to investigate. It's called the God frequency, and that's 732 hertz. And what that does, that is, it can be used for meditation, healing, and clarity. So when you think about Wi-Fi, think about our cell phones, think about television. There's waves going back and forth all the time. And
all the time.
They're bombarding us. The EMFs are not good.
No.
But these frequencies are really, really helpful. You can get them anywhere. And if you take time to just be with nature, you will have a better day. The third one, which is really, really very important, is the Nikola Tesla 369 code. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I've studied
going to
all
read
this.
about it right now because I don't want to get this wrong
Because I, all I know is that yesterday I went in to see my health coach, and she said to me, matter of fact, I wrote it down, but she said at night, get rid of all blue screens 2 hours before you go to sleep.
Yep.
She said no TV, no screen time, nothing on your laptop. And I said to her, what am I supposed to do 2 hours before I go to sleep? And she said, Cecelia, read a book,
Go back to the old
And I
ways.
thought,
Read a
wow,
book. Go
I
outside.
could. Because when I used to read a book, I fell asleep.
And moonlight. The moonlight has a frequency. The sun has a frequency.
well,
Everything has a frequency.
sunrise is one of the best.
Sunrise and
ways-
sunset.
And if you can tune your body to wake when the sun comes up and go to sleep after the sun goes down, you're in total harmony with nature. Let me give you the core philosophy. Nikola Tesla called the 369 the key to the universe. If you only knew the significance of the 369 and the 9, you would have the key to the universe. He believed these numbers were not arbitrary, but were fundamental to the structure of reality. This is heavy stuff.
It
The
is.
numbers in nature. Nature frequently utilizes patterns of 3 and 6, such as a hexagonal honeycomb cells, snowflake structures, and Fibonacci sequence. So nature has already been doing this, and he captured it, energy and matter. Tesla observed that many natural phenomena flow of vortex math. We talk about the vortex in Sedona. Many people go up there. It's a vortex pattern, a system where if you double the numbers 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, the resulting digital roots 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, and 5 never include 3, 6, or 9. He believed 3, 6, and 9 were a higher dimension governing the physical world. There's more to this than meets the eye.
And back, I remember years ago, my dad used to say that in our family, people always got pregnant. Three of the women in our family always got pregnant at the same time. Or there was always 3 divorces at the same time. Or there was always
3 deaths.
Or 3 deaths. Yeah,
Yep.
because we used to say when 2 people
Everything
died.
happens in threes.
Yeah, we had 2 people in our family that passed away, we'd look at each other like, oh my God,
Who's
gonna
next?
be the third, So that's interesting, John.
So we're going to see if we can get some frequencies that we can put at the end of the show that are not copyrighted. But I would recommend that you check out Schumann's resonance. And Schumann's resonance, by the way, is a set of natural electromagnetic waves, ELF, resonating between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, excited by the global lightning and with fundamental frequency around the 7.8 hertz, often called the Earth's heartbeat. So that's one. The God frequency is 432 hertz, great for meditation, peace. You get rid of stress. And of course, Nikola Tesla's 369 code, Tesla free energy is out there. And Tesla created energy that no one had to pay for. It was from the ether. And the JP Morgans of the world didn't like that. They go, that's a great invention. How we make money on it.
That's right.
How do
Because
we
you don't make money on it.
Yeah.
And they actually confiscated all his work, and he died destitute and poor, which is a tragedy, of course, with Elon Musk and Tesla free energy is coming back, which is a good thing. So that's just a little touch. And
that
again,
will be on the bottom of the screen so that people can go and research what you just talked
it'll
about.
be at the end of the credits. I'll ask
Okay,
Tony if
perfect.
he can do that.
That would be great.
Here's another real interesting thing. If you go on Amazon, you can buy tuning forks,
I
and
have
they're
one.
very inexpensive. You can buy a whole set of them,
Yep.
and they make all these different frequencies.
That's
And you
natural.
just hit the tuning fork, put it to your ear, and you'll have those frequencies just like that.
Wow.
You can get them all.
There's a Rife machine.
The tuning
Rife-
forks is so simple.
The Rife machine is there, tuning forks.
Inexpensive too.
Okay, so these are things that maybe you didn't think about. In a daily life, you don't think about, what's up the frequency? We are energy beings. We can heal ourselves. Every disease has a frequency to heal it. So I think I'll find that chart and I'll put that on there as
and
well.
Sean, what
Let
I
me
like,
tell you one other quick thing since we're on this one.
Okay.
You guys keep going down these rabbit holes all over. Do you know in nature, anytime there's a poisonous plant, the remedy plant is right next to it. So if you
that's
get out
God's
there-
way of-
interesting.
Yes, it's true.
Interesting.
Anybody that's an
Wow.
herbalist knows that. So if there's poison oak, right around it is the cure for it. Poison ivy, it doesn't matter. Yeah, there's
Interesting.
So
Well, and that's what I love about our show is that maybe people that are out there listening will pick up one or two things and try it. Maybe somebody like me, John taught me how, back in the day when they used to smoke cigarettes, it wasn't that they relaxed smoking the cigarette, it was the deep breath that they took in.
the process of the deep breathing.
Deep breathing. So if you see me out there driving around and I'm at a stop sign, I am taking in like a cigarette. I am just breathing deeply. And then the salt in my water every morning,
Yeah.
And then like you were saying, what if in the morning when you got up, if you didn't have your shoes on, you went outside, you stood out on the earth and you looked up at that sunrise? That's energy.
Absolutely.
You just do a few of these things.
things.
Yeah.
And grounding sheets now are extremely popular. But you want to make sure if you buy grounding sheets, buy one that has the device to measure it. Because there's a lot of junk on the market.
Oh, yeah.
Last thing on this. Oh, sorry, Vicki. I'm sorry. I was going to say our clothing that we wear.
That's right.
Linen clothing breathes. Cotton breathes.
Well, and cotton is now genetically modified. So guess what's coming back with a fury? Vintage clothing. So guess what all these people here have? Old clothes that were made out of cotton that wasn't genetically modified. Vintage clothing is coming back with a vengeance.
Wow.
The young people are getting it.
And a lot of people are getting
Okay.
hemp clothing and different
Yeah.
things. So
More
Good,
natural
exciting.
fibers.
we can go on
Bamboo.
and on. But the point is, if you look, if you expand your peripheral vision, there's so much more that you can do, that you have the power to do on a daily basis that you may not think you had. And hopefully we're gently nudging you to take those actions, because living to 100 healthy is not a binge diet. It's not going to the gym for 30 days in a row. It's
A lifestyle.
consistent lifestyle that you do small things consistently. And over time, you're going to build up this wonderful, wonderful base. And if you are ill, if you're hurting, you're inflamed, you're obese, it's never too late until it's too late. And that brings us to our next segment, which is one of my favorites. This is brought to you by Visiting Angels and Make 100 Healthy. This is the Arlene's Angel Spotlight and the Arlene's Angels Award. Arlene was my mom, Arlene Murphy, and her angel was my dad, Jim Murphy, and he was a caretaker for 14 years. My mom was given 6 months to live, and she lived 14 years. It was all because of my dad. And so our foundation formed the Arlene's Angel Award. We've talked about it. Sweet Angel Cecelia and Visiting Angels, we're proud to sponsor this segment. And every year we give an award. Because we're doing the show, we're doing a spotlight. And out of all the people in our show, we're going to pick one of the Arlene's Angels Award winners for the annual. Our Arlene's Angel is sitting in the studio.
I know.
Her name is Vicki Johnston.
I know.
Vicki, you're not in the Arlene's Angels Award because you know about health and wellness, although that's good. What you are, a very worthwhile recipient of this accolade, is that you care, you give back, you're charitable, you have donated money and water filtration systems that we gave out to someone to raise money for the Prescott Food Forest. So you are our Arlene's Angel Spotlight. And why don't you share what it is that drives you from a heart basis, from a love basis for your family and for your community?
Why do you do what you do? Because, and I had to take my glasses off because I was going to cry, because you have done so much. And
Now you're going to make me cry.
and,
The segment's brought to you by Kleenex.
The Prescott Area Shelter Services is one of my favorite. And I don't know if you and I went there together, but
We did. You introduced me to
yeah,
them.
I introduced you to those people. And what they do is, John, they take homeless women off the streets. They give them a bed. They give them some food. They help give them clothes.
Educate
so they
them.
can go out and interview for a job and
Yep.
maybe
Budgets.
get their life back together again. And their success rate is over 80%.
That's right.
And they have no money. They're a nonprofit, so they have to, raise money and everything. And so here's what Vicki's doing. She's giving them clean, free water at their place out of her heart. And those machines are expensive. So thank you.
So Vicki, you really extol the virtues of a giving heart, of a caring person. You're a fierce advocate for health and wellness because, someone could be a great person, but if they're inflamed, sick, and overweight and bedridden, they're not really contributing to this world. So I think it goes hand in hand. I think mental, physical, spiritual health are all together, but the love of someone that cares about you and gives beyond what people expect is a gift from God, really.
John, it's because I can't stand to see suffering. There's too much suffering in this world. It's not just animals. I couldn't hurt a dog or a cat or any kind of an animal. But when I see a human being suffer, it kills me. And I've saw it when I worked in my hospital job. I saw so many people come in that hospital dying, sick, desperate for help.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't help them because I'm not the doctor. I was the one who did all the lab work, and I'm the one that did all the testing, and I'm the one that said to the doctor, this is what's wrong with this patient. This is what they need to do. When you say they don't know, they don't know. It's not what they're taught.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. They're not taught.
So I think part of your giving nature is giving the gift of education.
It is. I will educate till I die. And let me give you just a little quick story. I know our time is really going by fast, and this is a true story. You can look these things up on the internet and see this is a true story. Back in the day when doctors delivered babies, they never washed their hands. And the mortality rate was unbelievably high. Babies were just dying, and they're like, why are these babies dying? And one doctor, you look this up, it's a true story, came in and he said, maybe we should wash our hands before we deliver these babies and try it. They all looked at him like he had 4 eyes and almost throwed him out of the medical profession for suggesting that they should wash their hands. Well, what do doctors do now? These doctors started washing their hands, and guess what happened? The mortality rate dropped. They didn't know nothing about bacteria and germs back then. Now we know that.
Yeah.
They're doctors. They were doctors.
Sure.
But they weren't taught. They didn't know what they didn't know.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's
They didn't
right.
know what
They
they
didn't do it
didn't know.
intentionally.
They didn't do it intentionally,
But-
and they're
but-
not doing it intentionally now.
Right.
I mean, when I was in school, they taught us if you took more than 5 medications at one time, you're more apt to die from the interactions of those drugs than what you're trying to treat. And that's what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Because all these drugs are synthetics.
Mhm.
They're
Well,
not from the earth.
no.
But the earth has a natural protocol. You might have to do a little homework. I mean, I teach people about castor oil all the time.
Mhm.
You can put turmeric in it. You take castor oil, which penetrates to the core. There's no other oil on earth that penetrates like castor oil. You want to get rid of them wrinkles? Just start doing castor oil. You
And
want
I
to get hair?
have organic castor oil, and I put it on my face at
It-
night.
and make
it
sure
How
it's
about the belly?
organic.
Yeah.
You can put it in your belly button, penetrates right to your core. But when you add cypress oil to it, cypress oil calms down the nerve.
Wow. I didn't
So
know
when
that.
you put cypress oil, organic, with organic castor oil, without hexane, you have to make sure it's
Right,
good stuff,
right.
you will not believe what happens, especially if you have neuropathy. You put that stuff on your feet at night, get you some good cotton socks, and I mean, don't be stingy. Put it between your toes, on the tops of your feet. I have feet in my store, and I show people, it shows you where all the nerve endings end. They end in all our extremities. They end in your feet. They end in your hands. They end in your nose. They end in your ears. Guy parts. That's why it hurts so bad when you stub your toe or you smash your finger or somebody hits you in the nose. Because that's the nerve endings, your ears. Your kidneys nerve is right here behind our ear. What are we doing with our ears? Oh, I'm guilty too, because nobody told me, 50 years ago when we put holes in my head. That's right in the kidney nerve.
Yeah.
That counts against
And
incontinence.
how about the feet?
Your feet.
The feet reflexology. Every part of your foot correlates to an organ in your body.
That's the nerve.
That's right.
That's the nerve.
Well-
The nerve is, the whole key is the nerve. And you talked about muscles. Every organ in your body is supported by a muscle.
Right.
If the muscles aren't there, there's nothing to hold your bladder up. That's why the bladder falls. Your heart, it's a muscle. It has to move. That's why you have to move. You have to move. Movement is the key, and stretching is
We say that
amazing.
all the time. And well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being here. You're always a wealth of knowledge. You're a fun person to be with. And you're at the
Thank
H2O
you.
Health Store at the mall. And what
5,000 square
website? What
feet?
website is the people get in touch with you?
Well, our store is right in the Pine Ridge Marketplace, and we teach classes. I teach classes every Saturday, 10:30 to 12, 16 different classes, one on inflammation, one on all the things we've been talking about. I teach about food. We wash food. We talk about water frequencies. You can't believe what you'll learn.
What about people that are not in the Prescott area? Because this is a worldwide broadcast. How can they see some of the great things that you do?
So I do have a website. It's H2O Health, and that's like water.
Okay.
H2OHealth.com. And we are going to start this year Zooming our classes. It's time.
I think you
It's
should.
good.
No, because your knowledge is
Yeah.
way more expansive than just the
Yeah.
local community.
And I think
here.
I told you that. I think I told you need to go national, So, but you got
I
your
do.
book.
So-
you got your
I
book.
got my
done,
book
so
coming out.
good.
And
What's the
I
name
do-
of the book?
Um,
You still working on it?
I haven't quite got the title.
All right. Well, that's
I
okay.
think the title's going to be "You're Not Sick, You're Toxic."
All right.
Oh,
I think that's a good one.
I think that's gonna be the title.
Well, our last segment is one that is very appropriate to end our show. It's called Gratitude and Blessings. And Vicki, since you're our guest, why don't you share something that you're grateful for that you've been blessed with?
And you got to start with that amazing husband of yours.
Well,
'Cause
I
he's,
am
he's
so
been
grateful.
with you a long time. And, I've always said behind every great woman, there's a great guy too.
I do have an amazing husband,
Yeah.
and I am so grateful. I'm grateful for all human life. I'm so grateful that we can live in a place where we can learn from one another. But I do love my husband. He's the angel in my life, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And my
A big
children
shout out to
adore
Larry.
him.
Yeah.
My children adore him. His
Yeah.
grandchildren adore him.
Yeah.
And he's still teaching, which is what I love.
Yeah,
He
very
teaches our kids and grandkids. Our son is one of the largest builders in Arizona, and that's because he worked by Larry's side as a kid
Right.
Perfect.
and learned how to build. And he's very successful,
Yeah.
extremely successful.
Excellent.
And our other kids are plumbers, and they were all went into the trades because of my husband. But Larry's a no nonsense kind of guy.
He's very smooth, very
Yeah.
steady. I like that. He doesn't have a lot of ups and downs. He's just
Nope.
steady.
He's steady as a rock.
What are you grateful for this week, Cecelia?
Oh gosh, John, so much has been going on in my life this week. John and I were just up before we came here, and it was a health fair, and we had all of our booths set up, and there were so many people that came in there, and I'm just grateful that I still have the ability to connect with people. And one of the things that I had mentioned to John is this place called the Flats at Jasper, and I don't know if you know my husband and I, we
Water
moved-
systems all through there.
yeah, we moved there, but they love what John is doing. They're loving the podcast and what we're doing. And so about 7 or 8 years ago, you and I used to get together, and 200 or 300 people, I can't remember, where we had we called it a sangria social, but they want John and I to do something in their lobby once a month, but all around health,
Very cool.
all around Make 100 Healthy.
Why don't I sponsor that?
Come on, you're in.
That would be
I'll sponsor it.
awesome.
Thank you.
That
Thank
would
you
be
so much.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
So before we say goodbye, I want to share what I'm grateful for this week. I every week go to a Bible group, a breakfast, and it's called the Overcomers Club. And these are 10, 15 very, very seasoned Christian men, not any one particular section of it. As I always say, God doesn't care which room you're in as long as you're inside his house. And so we're not Catholic or Lutheran. It's just we're Bible based, and we share stories. And having these mentors in my life and having these brothers that we have somebody that came from our facility, Silver Sands Recovery, and went there and going through heavy alcohol addiction. We had 10 guys put their hands on his shoulders and pray for his healing. And When he walked out of there, he said, "Thank you so much."
Talk about frequency.
That's the power of the frequency. So for my good buddies at the Overcomers group, every Wednesday, you mean so much to me. You keep me grounded. You give me a reason every week to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning on
Wow.
Wednesday mornings. Actually, I leave at 6. I get up at 5. So this, my gratitude is to the Overcomers Club and all the guys from there. If you want to join a club, well, join the Make 100 Healthy Club, the club everybody wants to be part of, to live to 100 with health, happiness, and purpose. And if you can put these things together, you'll do that. You go to make100healthy.com/club. It says it's $99. We have an override that you will get in for free because you're part of our family. So, Cecelia, Vicki, thank you so much.
Thank you
This was a
both.
great conversation. We touched
Right.
on a lot of things.
Yep.
I felt we could have gone a lot deeper on,
We could have.
on every one of them.
Could have
But
spent hours.
uh,
Yeah.
on behalf of sweet Cecelia Jernegan and myself, this is John Murphy saying nothing but thanks. Talk to you soon.